Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in this short video I'd like to show you how you can make a quick and simple little rack for your clamps, such as this one I've got here, just out of a single pallet board. So a while back I made this clamp rack. I've got a video about how I made it. I'll leave a link to that video in the description box. And I also made this one here for some longer clamps. So now I'm going to make a third one because I've got a few more clamps that I need to find a home for. So for this project I'm just going to be using one single short pallet board, and it measures about 2 centimeters thick by about 9.5 centimeters wide. I started by measuring up the area that I need the clamp to go in, and it measures about 35 centimeters in width. So I first marked up the main piece where the clamps will go, and then I marked up for 2 brackets. I made these 14 centimeters high, and then I measured about 4 centimeters in and drew a diagonal line. So here is the main section which will be holding the clamps, and then here are the 2 brackets. So now I could measure up where I want the slots to go. I spaced the slots about 4.5 centimeters apart, and then this wider clamp I spaced it away from the others. It just depends what clamps you need to put into the rack. And then I decided to go about 6 centimeters deep with these slots. And then I could also mark up for some pilot holes to attach the top to both of the brackets, and I also want to mark up on the brackets for 2 holes, and they'll be used to attach the rack to the studs. Once all the marking was done, I could then use an awl then I used the miter saw to cut out the shapes. And for the diagonal parts I used a handsaw. Now onto the drill press. I started off drilling out the holes. There's 2 either side where the screws will go to attach the brackets underneath, and then I could drill out the holes in the brackets, 1 in each bracket, and then I used a countersink for the 4 holes on the top piece, and then for the end of each slot I drilled a 9mm diameter hole. Then I drew another 2 lines for each slot on each end of the hole, and then I used these lines to go in with a saw and cut out the slot. To cut the slot out I used a pull saw. Usually I'd probably use a jigsaw, but I decided to just go with a pull saw, and actually it worked pretty well. Then I used a round file and a flat file just to clean up the slots and just to remove any sharp edges. So this pallet board had quite a few holes in it. I just quickly mixed up some sawdust and wood glue and filled those holes. So now for assembly, I'm adding some glue and 2 screws in each side, piloting down through into the brackets. Now for the sanding, I'm just using an 80 grit here to give it a quick going over to make sure it's nice and smooth and there's no sharp edges. And then I decided to paint it. The wood is quite rough, so I've painted it with my everlasting tub of grey paint, and that should match nicely in the workshop with the other stuff. So in my case, I've added it to the studs, as you can see there, but you could modify it slightly so that you could have it screwing into the wall with some brackets. And that was the little rack all finished. Okay, so that's about it then for this video. So a single piece of pallet wood turned into a handy little clamp rack. I've got one space left for a spare clamp, and it holds the clamps on just great, neat and tidy out of the way. I hope you found this useful in some way. Hopefully you can make one for yourself and adapt it to how you want to fix it to your wall. If you did find this video useful, please remember to like and also consider subscribing for more DIY related videos. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.